Hey, it's A Humble Collector here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the two-panel death card of Oskar Bock. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So going from the top of panel 1 here, we have a oval portrait photo of Oskar, and then moving down. In God's holy peace rests our beloved son and brother, far from his loved ones, Oskar Bock, Jager in a Gebirgsjager Regiment, born on February 19th, 1921 in Mindelheim, and fell on September 20th, 1941 by Odessa. I was actually able to find a casual record for Oskar. He was a member of the 8th Company of Gebirgsjager Regiment 99, which was part of the 1st Gebirgs Division, and he died from a perforating shot to the left hip and forearm at the field hospital in Nyzhni Sirokozy. Now, it's always interesting having a Gebirgsjager card because the Gebirgs units are fairly well documented, and I do actually have the divisional history for the 1st Gebirgs Division, which is Die Stammdivision der Deutschen Gebirgstrupps by Roland Kaltenegger. And in this book, on page 239 here, we get a little bit about what was going on for the 1st Gebirgs Division at that time. While the September campaign from September 1st to 18th was filled with fighting in the Nogai Steppe for the 1st Gebirgs Division, the days from September 19th to October 3rd, 1941 were marked by bitter fighting at the Tymoshivka anti-tank ditch, where the Soviet Russians had established a strong defensive position. By the evening of September 19th, reconnaissance had established that the anti-tank ditch was occupied everywhere and shielded by strong artillery. As a result, the 49th Gebirgs Army Corps ordered an attack on the Tymoshivka anti-tank ditch for September 20th. The attack order of the 1st Gebirgs Division was accordingly: 1. Enemy holds anti-tank ditch in positions west of Tymoshivka, also enemy artillery. Enemy advances from the direction of Malaya Belozyorka were repulsed by the 98th Gebirgsjager Regiment. On the right, the 170th Infantry Division reached Uspenskaya, and on the left, the 4th Gebirgs Division reached the area 5 kilometers east of Bolshaya Belozyorka. 2. 1st Gebirgs Division, as the Corps' focal point division with Kampfgruppe Kress and Picker, breaks through the enemy position from the Mogila Dolgaya area and takes Tymoshivka from the north. The focus is on the two inner wings of Kampfgruppe Kress and Picker. 170th Infantry Division takes over protection of the division's right flank. 4th Gebirgs Division takes possession of Malaya Belozyorka on September 20th and prevents enemy action from there against the division's left flank. 3. Attacking Kampfgruppe Kress on the right, Kampfgruppe Picker on the left. And it's worth noting that Kress was the commander of the 99th Gebirgsjager Regiment. This is likely the unit Oskar was attached to on September 20th. 4. Timing of the attack: September 20th from 9 a.m., engagement of enemy artillery and identified targets by the artillery. Break in enemy positions at 10 a.m. 5. Artillery: the Winkler Group, 3rd Battalion, Gebirgs Artillery Regiment 79, 4th Battalion, Gebirgs Artillery Regiment 79. Romanian Heavy Artillery Unit 57 supports the attacks of Kampfgruppe Kress and Picker. It engages identified enemy targets and observed effective fire and the enemy artillery. The Gebirgs artillery detachments remain dependent on direct cooperation with Kampfgruppe Kress and Picker. 6. Kampfgruppe Long, without the 10th Battery of Gebirgs Artillery Regiment 79, secures the division's left flank and maintains contact with the right wing of Kampfgruppe Picker and the left wing of 4th Gebirgs Division. As the attack progresses, it reaches the anti-tank ditch at Mogila Dolgenka. 7. Gebirgsjager Field Ersatz Battalion 54 remains at the disposal of the division in Gavrilovka and is ready to advance in a northeasterly direction. 8. Engineers and anti-aircraft protection as before. 9. Army Field Dressing Station Gavrilovka, later Tymoshivka, and Horse Medical Station Gavrilovka, later Tymoshivka. 10. Communications: Gebirgs Nachrichtenabteilung 54 maintains telephone contact with Kampfgruppe's Kress Picker, Gebirgsjager Feld Ersatz Battalion 54 and Artillery Group Winkler, radio contact with Kampfgruppe's Kress, Picker, and Lond, and Artillery Group Winkler. 11. Divisional Combat Standard, Command Detachment Gavrilovka, Cantonment Department, September 20th, 5 p.m., as signed by Lantz. After the usual fire preparation, the Gebirgsjagers attacked vigorously on September 20th, and after prolonged close combat, finally penetrated the trench. A report from the commander of the 1st Gebirgs Division, General Lons, to the commanding general of the 49th Gebirgs Army Corps, General Kubler, also reports on the severity of the costly fighting at the Tymoshivka anti-tank ditch. Today's day of attack was the heaviest day of fighting so far. According to the commander's reports, it surpasses the Battle of Podvysokoye. The losses are high. The enemy artillery is estimated at 12 batteries. The enemy's ammunition expenditure is considerable. The enemy position has proven to be a deeply developed, excellently camouflaged defensive system. Approximately every 10 meters, there is a rifle nest, which must be attacked individually under enemy sniper fire. Based on the enemy picture so far, the impression is that the enemy wants to cover the withdrawal of his main forces with strong rear guards. And so it was indeed. After the Soviets once again inflicted heavy losses on the Gebirgsjagers, they withdrew fighting. The mood wasn't exactly the best as the mountain troops, after exhausting fighting, literally ran after the enemy on equally exhausting forced marches. Nevertheless, the Jagers marched undeterred toward the southeast, kept awake only by the thought that their arrival and deployment against the Soviet units in the Crimea were urgently needed. Now, interestingly, another source that I found also noted that a few hours after breaking through at Tymoshivka, it started marching to the southeast, as previously noted, and then there was a Soviet breakthrough at Balki, and so the entire unit had to turn toward the east to deal with that before they continued back to the southeast on October 4th. And yeah, so as noted there, the fighting at Tymoshivka was the heaviest that the 1st Gebirgs Division had been involved in up to this point in the war. And a fellow collector that you've seen comment on a lot of my death card videos, you follow the channel, Will, he actually has done a lot of research on the 1st Gebirgs Division, so I did reach out to him before this video because I was curious. You know, I kept seeing again and again that the Tymoshivka anti-tank ditch is mentioned specifically in like every source online that you can find detailing the history of the 1st Gebirgs Division as like really bitter fighting. That's all that ever gets said. It was really hard fighting. There were a lot of casualties. But oddly, I couldn't find a single like first-hand account from somebody that was there and actually, you know, recorded what it was like. And Will also had not found any first-hand sources in his research. So if anybody out there knows of an account that exists from anybody that was involved in the fighting that day, I'd be curious to see it. Because clearly, based off the casualty records that Will has in his collection, there were a lot of casualties that day. And also in my own collection, I only have one other card researched for a member of the 1st Gebirgs Division, which is this one for Wilhelm Hartinger, who was an Unteroffizier in the 3rd Company of Gebirgsjager Regiment 99, and he was killed by an artillery hit to the chest at Tymoshivka, Russia on September 20th, 1941. So, even in my own collection, I only have 2 examples from this entire division, and they both happen to have been killed on the same day. So that, again, just goes to show how bad the fighting was. And when you think about an anti-tank ditch, I don't think a lot of people realize how deep anti-tank ditches actually are. There are photos of the one at Tymoshivka online. Here's a couple of them that I was able to find. So you combine this with the dug-in snipers, the artillery support, and you can understand why this was such a major obstacle for the division to get through. Now, according to Oskar's casualty record, as we discussed earlier, he died at the field hospital in Nyzhni Sirokozy, and I did find what I think is the correct location on the map. It's actually Nyzhni Sirokozy, which is 8 kilometers west of Tymoshivka. So it's perfectly reasonable that Oskar was shot in the fighting earlier that day, as we saw it started in the morning. He was transported to this hospital that was further back, and that's where he'd end up dying later that day. And interestingly, as we saw in the actual unit history, it talks about the unit's dressing station moving from Gavrilovka up to Tymoshivka, but obviously he was probably bandaged at the dressing station and was then sent back to this field hospital for further medical attention, which is where he ends up passing away. Now, moving to the bottom of the card here. You good son and brother are no longer with us. Your place in our home is empty. You no longer extend your hand to us. You died a heroic death in enemy territory. We couldn't see you die, nor stand at your grave. You died so young and oh so early. We will never forget you. My Jesus, mercy. O Lord, give him eternal rest. Our Father, Hail Mary. And then moving to the back of the card here. My Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. My Jesus, mercy. An indulgence of 300 days each time is laid out by Pius X on May 20th, 1911. So yeah, really fascinating card tied to what appears to be one of the bloodiest days of fighting for the 1st Gebirgs Division. And as usual, you know, it's really nice that I was able to track down a copy of the divisional history and actually find the entry for that day. Because without it, you know, we wouldn't have all this context of what was going on. And thankfully, it seems like the Tymoshivka anti-tank ditch, while we don't have any first-hand accounts that I can find detailing the fighting there, we can at least see it's pretty well documented. There's some photos existing online, and it's referenced in other places. So, overall, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.